Hello and welcome. This is Bhuvan Unhelkar, your tutor, and in this particular lecture, we're going to discuss enterprise architecture and few other architectural words, if you like, and relate them to the work we are doing in business analysis. If we have to study only enterprise architecture, that is a subject in itself. So we don't have the time to study enterprise architecture in its own right. On the other hand, if we don't discuss and don't understand the architectural aspects of an organization, of a project, of a system, then our business analysis work will not be complete. So that is the main reason why we are trying to study enterprise architecture in our study of business analysis. You will find in practice, as you move towards higher responsibilities of business analysis, that you will have to interact with someone who is playing the role of an architect. So what is this role and why do we need to worry about architecture? Well, a little bit of study shows that the root word from which architecture is derived is arch, A-R-C-H. And arch, as you know, is always in balance. An arch can rest even without too much of cement and concrete to hold it if the bricks have been put together in such a way that they are in balance. One of the most famous example of an arch that ensures that both sides rest on each other is Sydney's Harbour Bridge. And that is a good way of remembering what an architect is trying to do, what an architecture is trying to portray in a system or in an organization. So now if we bring it down to the work that we are doing, the two words that you may come across are business architecture and enterprise architecture. To me, the words are, if I look at only the words, almost similar. But the way they are being interpreted in our day-to-day work seems to be slightly different. So an enterprise architecture seems to be more on the technical side, dealing with the systems and the databases and the middleware and the security that is required in a group of systems within an enterprise. But the same need to maintain balance, to maintain a full understanding of what the business is trying to do. That is all dimensions of the business. We need business architecture. And analysis, as we have been studying so far, is investigations, explorations, breaking down of a situation, breaking down of a problem into smaller bits. All of this applies to business side, pure business side, and also to the systems side. So we do have a very close relationship, if you like, with the enterprise architects of the organization. So then, what exactly is business architecture? And there is a formal definition again by Object Management Group, which I will not read out for you. I'll let you uh, study it. But there seem to be 5 separate views, if you like, or models of business architecture. And a business analyst is involved in all these 5 views of a business architecture. So the first is the strategic view. What is the business strategy? Where does the business want to go in the next year or 2 or 5 years? A business architecture will contain a documentation or a model of the futuristic view, the strategic view of business. That can include potential opportunities for mergers and acquisitions, potential threats, potential legal requirements, compliance requirements, such as coming from carbon tax. And a business analyst at that top end is weighing options, is considering what would be to the maximum advantage of an organization, of a business. So a BA has to bring in his or her skills, all those earlier skills, the mind mapping, the art of questioning, the Ishikawa diagrams, all of that comes into play when a BA is involved along with a business architect to decide the strategic view of an organization. Then is the capability view. And again, as BAs, if you remember, we studied what do? We identify the needs of the organization, and we identify the capabilities of the organization and the functionalities and so on. So we are involved in identifying what exactly the organization has right now, which will enable it to come up with a improved, a more realistic, a focused strategy, business strategy. So the business strategy view and the business capability view are both intertwined with each other. We hear and come across a lot of knowledge management. So the third view in a business architecture is that of the business knowledge areas. How does the business correlate seemingly unrelated pieces of information to create knowledge? That can relate to the demographics of the customers. It can relate to weather conditions for a bank or for a sports complex. And you will find that knowledge management is moving in directions where it is coming up with a phenomenal amount of support for a decision maker by putting together pieces of information that would not otherwise make sense. So it is actually a part of enterprise architecture. It is a part of technology, information technology. But here in a business architecture, we are looking at it from a business knowledge viewpoint. The fourth view is the operational view. How does the organization operate right now? Which are the operating processes? How is the business as usual conducted by the organization? You will find that your study of the non-functional requirements will suddenly come alive when the operational view of a business is put together. If you remember, we don't have much modeling techniques for non-functional requirements, but certainly whatever documentation we do, for non-functional requirements will be very handy and will in fact be a part of the operational view of the business. And then there is the people view, the HR view, or the organizational structure view. How are the people put together? What are the reporting hierarchies? How much is the depth of hierarchy within an organization? What is the mix of permanent employees versus contract staff versus business partners, and so on? So this is how business architecture is put together, and a business analyst brings his or her skills extensively in putting together a business architecture and in maintaining it. We then have a look at the enterprise architecture as it is understood now. And again, there is a very close relationship between these technical aspects of various systems as understood in an architecture, as understood in a need to balance, and the analytical work that you and I do as BAs. So you will find I have put together a figure which shows an enterprise architecture is in the background space and is providing basically constraints or limitations. Again, in NFRS, we discussed the qualities and the constraints. And by qualities, we didn't mean QA, we meant the various ilities, adaptability, usability, and so on. All those qualities are enabled by or ticked by or okayed by an enterprise architecture. So you can imagine an enterprise architecture as a full, holistic, composed view, not individual broken down view of all the systems and the databases and so on within an organization. Whereas when it comes to systems development, enterprise architecture says, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. Exactly as documented in the non-functional requirements, constraints, limitations of bandwidth, limitations of disk space, limitations of growth in the technical domain, all provided by enterprise architecture. Now there are a few standards, and again I don't expect you to learn these standards in this particular lecture and certainly in this particular subject, but it is still worth knowing. The Open Group Architectural Framework is one of the most popular enterprise architecture standard or framework, as the name suggests, TOGAF. And I think currently it is at version 9 level, the TOGAF version 9, that is. You may be already dealing with TOGAF in your work environment if your organization uses TOGAF, or you may have never heard of it and you are hearing for the first time. So either way, it's fine. TOGAF is an architectural framework that enables balance in these various systems and the demands that are put on the systems and the capabilities of the systems and its databases and security and so on. The other well-known standard that is quite popular and that applies, in my opinion, to much more than the systems level or the enterprise architecture level, and that is Zachman framework. So again, you can do a little bit of research on Zachman, and you will find that the columns and the rows of Zachman, it is a 6 by 6 framework. While the rows are being technical in terms of databases or in terms of communication networks and so on, in fact both rows and columns, you will also find the 6 questions that we studied in the art of questioning also applying or being used by Mr. Zachman in his Zachman framework. So in a way, if as a business analyst, if someone presents to you, shows you a Zachman framework, you should not be concerned. You can say, yes, I know what a Zachman framework is. It is a framework for enterprise architecture, and in my opinion, for the entire business architecture, that deals with data, systems, networks, communication, and people. It covers everything: the what, the when, the why, the how, the who, and the where. So BAs have to pay attention to these architectural frameworks so that they can continue their work. You and I can continue our work in terms of needs analysis, needs exploration, in terms of identifying the SWOT of our business, coming down to functional requirements, coming to non-functional requirements, to interface requirements, and so on. So you will find that in that example that I have given for a hospital management system, the functional slice of this architectural diagram, if you like, is coming down. So you got patient as a functionality, staff as another functionality, consulting, and then accounting as functional chunks of a system. And horizontally, you find 5 layers. You find the base communication layer, then you find the storage or database layer, then the binding layer, the middleware layer, the service orientation layer, if you like, then the processes layer, that is business processes, and finally the presentation or the user interface layer. So we find that a architectural constraint, an architectural desire to have the system in balance through these 5 layers, technical layers and security, have a interface, have a interplay with the functional layers of the system, the functional slices of the system. So have a look at how the two can work together, and non-functionalities are superimposed on each of these packages: patient, staff, consulting, and accounting. I have also provided some material on a framework, an architectural framework that might be of interest to you if you are working in telecom sector. So this is specific to telecommunication, and therefore in some way may not apply to a bank or an airline or a hospital. But I have used this framework, and I thought, as great business analyst, you should be aware of the enhanced telecom operations map, and that is ETOM. So ETOM is shown as in 3 parts: the SIP, which is the strategy, infrastructure, and product group. So you will be focusing your attention along with uh, the person playing the role of an architect, an enterprise architect, in terms of what should be the strategy, what is the available infrastructure, and what are the products of the organization. You then find another group, which is the operational group, which is talking about placing in order, fulfilling of that order, fulfilling of that operational hiccup, if you like, in a telecom environment, ensuring the quality, and then of course billing and recovering and receiving payments and so on. So you will find customer relationship management, service management, and resource management, all those appearing in the operational side. And then finally it is the enterprise management. So you will find topics such as strategies and enterprise capability planning, knowledge management, research, financial and asset management. All of these, HR management, form part of the enterprise management group, and these are again providing input to a business analyst, or providing basis for a business analyst to undertake analysis if required in a telecom sector. So that's what I really wanted to share with you in terms of how a business analyst has to or can deal with enterprise architecture, business architecture. There is a lot of technical material available, and I'll put some of it, um, and you can read it depending on your interest and your growing understanding. But my aim in putting together this particular lecture and in encouraging you to be aware of enterprise architecture and business architecture is that as top end business analyst that is working much more than just requirements modelers, you have no choice. You will have to come across architectural models, frameworks that are going to put constraints on your work. And I may in fact actively encourage you as business analysts to go out and seek the architectural models, the architectural frameworks that exist in an organization, to speak to the enterprise architects, to discuss with them the pros and cons, the weighing, the balancing of what your business needs and what your business has. Your business can need the entire universe. The capabilities, the operations, the organizational structure of the business may be such that those needs may not be fulfilled. And once you reach this situation where the needs are there but the capabilities are not, and you have discovered them along with your EA friends, enterprise architect friends, you suddenly open up the decision makers, the board of your organization, to a different dimension. In fact, the whole gestalt of your board of the decision makers changes, and that's when they start thinking, we simply don't have the capability, so either we acquire new business, or we sign a MOU with another partner, or we simply reduce our product line, or give up the idea of growth in multiples, whatever that decision is. And that's where you are bringing in your analytical skills and helping your board to make decisions. Now if you are a starting BA, an initial um, you're making your initial foray into the world of business analysis, that's fine. You don't have to be sitting on the board, you don't have to be always advising the board on what to decide. You can very well still appreciate what a business analyst can do when the BA starts talking with the EA, because at functional level you will find that the input given by the EA, by the enterprise architect, is of phenomenal value. It will not only improve the quality of your work, but most importantly it will prevent you from doing work that may lead to nowhere. You can come up with the best functional and the non-functional requirements. The organization has no capacity to implement your functional requirements, to implement your non-functional requirements, and your effort goes waste. So those are the kind of things that you have to keep in mind. And going back to my original opening statement, balance. An architect keeps everything in balance, and a business analyst has a lot to do with balance. Cost benefit analysis, risk analysis, SWOT analysis, pestle analysis, all these are analytical work that we are undertaking to keep things in balance. And therefore, uh, we are, as BAs, in some shape or form, architects as well. So I hope this has been of value to you. You can now go to the seminar, read the seminar, do some searches on your own. Um, and then once you have finished with the seminar and the searches and the reading and the references that I have provided, then you can move to the discussion questions. And as always, be relaxed, and I hope that you are enjoying this study as much as I am enjoying the study. So take care and see you later. Bye bye.